next person that we have coming up is a best-selling author of a book called The Business Blockchain. He's a former board advisor to Ethereum Foundation, which we were just talking about. He's currently the general partner of Virtual Capital Ventures. Guys, can we please put our hands together for William Mougayar? Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. It's great to be here. Some of you know me as the author of The Business Blockchain. How many of you have a copy of my book? Ooh, yeah, not too bad, about half. Well, Christmas is coming, you know. I mean, and it's really good in quantities. So, I'm also the founder of the Token Summit, which is taking place in 2 weeks in San Francisco. And I'm mentioning this because there is a connection between Crypto Valley and Silicon Valley. And at the Token Summit in 2 weeks, for the first time, I've invited Oliver Busman to come in and talk to the summit, as well as Ralph. So for the first time, we're going to have Crypto Valley meeting Silicon Valley. So I'm very excited about that. So what if I told you that everything we've seen so far in terms of the tokens activity today is only part of the first generation of what we know? And what if I told you that everything that we've seen so far has only brought less benefits than what we will see in the future? That is really the theme of my talk. And it is not just about designing tokenomics, which is the economics behind tokens, but it's really about this new thing I'm calling Tokens 2.0 that we have to look forward towards. So first, let's start by defining what is tokenomics in the way that I like to think about it. It's really three things. It's how you design the role of your token. Everybody's focused on that. It's for the functionality of the token. What will it do? Number two is how will you distribute those tokens? And thirdly, because it's about money, it's about currency, is how will you govern the monetary policy behind your tokens? And all of you that are involved in some token projects and ICOs, I'm sure know about these. But the question is not whether you can answer them, but the question is, how well do you answer them? And that is going to be something we're going to dive into a little bit more in my talk. First, what is a very simple definition for a token? It's really a cryptocurrency with a purpose, with a special purpose. That is really a very basic definition. So here, all of you that came here, we could have given you a special token, let's say, that could only have three functions. It lets you into the conference, it lets you have coffee or tea, and it gave you entrance to this auditorium. So that's an example of a very special token. And what is that purpose? We have to think about the fact that the token itself is not the purpose. The token is just an enabler. And what's the purpose, really? It's two things, really. It's either creating an ecosystem. If you're a protocol, mostly, you have to create an ecosystem around your protocol. You have to have lots of developers that are using it. If you look at the Ethereum, for example, as a protocol, what is the strength of Ethereum? It's really all of the developers and the companies that are using it, both at the startup level and the enterprise level. And they have formed around themselves a very incredible ecosystem. And a lot of the protocols that are following it, whether they are vertical or horizontal protocols, they are after creating an ecosystem. If you're not a protocol, then what are you? You're an application, probably. And there, if the token is in the middle of your application, you have to create a new economy of sort. You have to create a private economy. There has to be a buying and a selling. There has to be some value creation. There has to be a creation and a consumption. So that is why it's important to get focused on the economics of what the token enables, not just having a token itself. And what we have done is giving tokens a utility, a function, and we can sum them up in 4 different buckets. It's either a right, it's an ownership. Fractional ownership is coming. It is not there yet totally widespread, but there will be lots of real estate, physical assets that will be fractionalized so that the liquidity is there with the ownership. It is something we don't have yet today. It could be a representative of a work, where there's a reward, obviously, or it could be a currency. So let's dive further into this token 1 versus token 2.0. The problem I see today, when I take a very critical eye to a lot of the projects that I'm coming across with, and some that come through my inbox, is that many of them are trying to copy what we see as opposed to creating something that we don't see and inventing something new. And that is a very natural reaction to how things start in the beginning. And we have an analogy here because this is how the web started. I want to bring you back to the mid to late 90s and the early 2000s in the web. The first generation of the web applications, up until the crash of 2000, mostly we tried to just emulate what we saw. The innovation did not happen really until 2002 to 2004, when we started to exploit the two-way aspect of the web. The two-way meaning that there is a read and a write. The two-way meaning that users can generate content. And when users add content to a network, there is some network effect that happens. That was really something very unique to the web. And a lot of the best companies that we have today came along in the second generation of the web, what we called Web 2.0. I see the same thing is going to happen with the token projects. I'm not saying all of them are today tokens 1.0, but there are lots of them that are not going to pass the test. The acid test for tokens is, I like to ask, what would happen without a token? And it's not just a matter of telling me, yeah, we were doing it this way, now we're going to do it this way with the token. It has to be something that you need the blockchain for. You have to be really, really good at answering the question, which is, what is the blockchain enabling that was not possible before? I like to ask projects to give me a before and an after, and show me really how is the process being done today, and how will it be done later. It is very important to be very critical, and not just to see what we see and copy it and try to invent. So this leads us to a more sophisticated definition for the token that I like to use. It's really about self-governance, right? It's really about the business model. Is the token going to enable your business model? Is it going to empower users to do something new? Are you sharing? Are you using decentralization? Are you sharing the rewards? Are you distributing them across the stakeholders? This is about decentralization, not centralization. If you are thinking about tokens, the token is not a carrot. I see that in a lot of proposals, where they say, well, we're going to save some tokens and we're going to incentivize the users. And they'll come and then that's it. But the token is not a carrot. It's not a discount. It's like if I gave you a discount or a free coupon for a drink at a bar. Okay, it will get you into the bar the first time around. But if you don't like what you see, you may not return again. You may not even order a second drink. That is an incentive. There is no skin in the game. You're not sure that your user is going to come back. I see a lot of cases where the token is being used as a carrot, and that is not what is going to be sticky. The token must be native really to the blockchain for maximum leverage. It must be something that without it, the operation will not happen. The protocol cannot work. The application will not be enabled. If you really make the token as part and parcels of the technology that you are developing, then that is more valuable. If not, you're really back to zero, which is that you have to prove that the token is going to fit the market. There is a common term in the startup world which we use, which is product to market fit. And sometimes it takes a few years for startups to find their product to market fit via iterations, because everything is at the beginning a hypothesis. You think that this is going to do such and such and such, but you go to the market and the reality hits, and it doesn't work exactly like how you thought it was going to work in the white paper. So you have to iterate, because at the end of the day, everything is a startup today. People sometimes say, well, an open source project is not like a startup because everybody can contribute to the innovation. That's not correct. You have to prove that you are going to be fitting the market, that there are developers, there are users, there is going to be an ecosystem, there's going to be transactions behind what you are building. And that doesn't happen from day one. You have to iterate towards it. You have to be able to answer the following. To whom will the token be used? At what cost? With what benefits? Will it result in what valuable transactional activity? And if you cannot answer that very well, then you are missing the point. So how do you do that? Here are 4 elements that you can use that are really about using the blockchain native capabilities. First of all, there has to be a removal of a counterparty of some sort or an intermediary. The blockchain is really about this new trust platform. We had intermediaries before. We're not going to trust them anymore. We thought we needed them, the banks and others, or exchanges. And now we're going to do something new without who? Without what intermediary? Without what counterparty? If you cannot answer that question, then you are not doing something disruptive enough. You are not doing something that is significant enough in the blockchain world. Are you using the token as a reward, necessarily? Is there work being done? There has to be some work. There has to be somebody, either a computer, computational work, or a human has to do something valuable to earn a token. And it is not just showing up. It is not something that can be gained. It has to be very intrinsic, very native to the application. There has to be a decentralization of a process. Again, if you do the before and after. We used to do it this way. There were 5 parties in the middle, and now we're doing it this other way, and everybody is peer-to-peer. And then there is a topic of decentralized governance. How are you managing the future evolution of what you are doing? And that has to be a part of it. Reality check. When I look at a lot of the projects that come across my desk, my emails, and looking at the market overall right now, not just projects specifically, there is a disconnect between value and valuations, right? Who wouldn't agree with that? You go to coinmarketcap.com, and many of you, I'm sure, go there more than once per day. How many of you check it every 5 or 10 minutes, right? I'm sure you don't have to admit it, but that's where we all go. What is the relationship between value and valuation? We're not sure yet that the models are there. We are not sure how to quantify, how to value these tokens and these cryptocurrencies. We need to learn a lot more. There's a disconnect between the monetary policy and the strategy that you put in place. Do you know the impact of having 50% of the tokens being held by the foundation versus 20% or 10% or 70%? Do you know what the difference is whether you have 50% of the tokens locked versus not locked? Do you know the relationship between the transaction volume and the price of a token and then how many users you have? We still have to learn a lot about how the operations and the economic models behind all of this. And this is very new to us right now. The point here is that really this is really about business more than it is about technology. Technology seems to be difficult today, but we're going to figure it out. I like to say that this is 90% governance and business, and the other 50% is technical. I know it doesn't add up, but this is a play on the famous saying that Yogi Berra, the famous baseball player and baseball coach, and they asked him about baseball, and he said, well, baseball is 90% mental, and the other 50% is physical. So the same thing here with the blockchain, unfortunately. More and more, we're going to figure out the technology. And it's going to be back to the business models. I want to give you some final thoughts on some of the things that I see that impact everything that's going on. First, regulation, and there's a panel about that later on. I have one thing to say about regulation. I know there's going to be a lot of work involved with classification of tokens. Is it a utility? Is it a security? Is it this or that? And so on. In my opinion, the regulators do not care, are not going to care about the nuances of the tokens classifications that we are throwing at them. What they will care about is about disclosures. It's about saying what you are doing. and doing what you are saying. So what they will focus on going in the future, that is my own prediction, is there will be a requirement for more transparency. You have to tell exactly who you're giving the tokens to, what the lockup periods are, and what you are keeping, and how you're operating the whole thing. So that's going to be number one. Number two, funds. I see this as a bit of a critical risk right now. There are more than 90 funds that are coming into the space, have raised maybe close to $1.5 billion, and I see this as a risk. Because these funds, many of them are used to traditional models, traditional ways of investing, and they are going to try to use those quantitative methods for this new thing that we don't know a whole lot about yet. What is the alpha? What is the beta of a fund? It's very difficult to compute that because there is no historical record with cryptocurrencies. And we're kind of very early still. Many of these projects are not even operational yet. So how can we really quantify the investment? Scalability. Scalability is a big issue. You hear about it a lot, scalability of blockchains. And some blockchains take a hit, well, because it's not scalable, because we can only do, 7 transactions per second, or the cost of transactions is 30 cents, and that's expensive. But if I hear that, it means you really don't understand blockchains. Not everything has to be pegged to the blockchain. Not every transaction has to be on the public blockchain. There are ways that you can achieve scalability by hashing a lot of transactions and using Merkle trees and using other ways to scale horizontally via sidechains and other ways, or state channels. I'm not going to get into that because that gets into a technical conversation. But scalability is something we're going to solve. But if you have a project today, do not really say that the blockchain is not scalable, therefore we cannot do it. When I keep hearing, well, we're going to do a better blockchain because of feature X or feature Y, then I get worried as well. It is not about feature X or feature Y anymore. It is about getting a lot of developers behind your technology. It is about creating an ecosystem behind your technology. And that is really what is important. So you have to look at the blockchains that are way up there in the front, and if they have momentum, then be part of them instead of try to fight them. On-chain governance, I hear that a lot lately, and I'm a bit worried as well. Again, we're going to do governance 1.1. The first one failed, DAO failed, because we tried to do too much in something we didn't understand very well. There are other ones that are being worked on today. I don't think they are 2.0, maybe they are 1.5 or 1.1. And doing on-chain governance is very difficult. It is not easy to put all of the operations, all of the decision-making on the blockchain. We got to get to it in a stepwise manner. And those projects that are doing this in a stepwise manner, I think, are the wiser ones. And there's one last point here I thought about adding, not on the slide, is the role of foundations. That's a very important, critical element going forward. We all are rushing to create foundations, but what is the role of the foundation in reality? What do they do? Are they being run properly? What is the relationship between the foundation and the company that is developing the technology, if they are not the one developing it? I'm getting on the board of 2 new foundations, and we're doing a lot of preparatory work for setting it up the right way. It is not easy. Otherwise, there will be some issues, like some of the ones that have been in the press recently. In closing, I want to leave you with 3 thoughts. There is no silver bullet for designing tokens or complying with whatever law you are part of, whether it's here in Zug or whether it's in Gibraltar or anywhere else in the world. The dichotomy that we have today is you can be 100% compliant, but still go out in the market and fail. So you've done your homework, you've hired some good lawyers, you've paid a lot of money, and then you're out. But that is only the beginning. The ICO is only the beginning. The hard work is coming later. Number 2, we're close to $250 billion right now when you look at the market cap for all of the cryptocurrencies. I hope that a lot more good apps come out of it than just currency usage, and a few protocols that are just still starting to come out. With so much money, we have to use it well. And it is so easy right now to raise money with an ICO. I keep saying, if you can fog a mirror, you can raise money on an ICO right now. It's almost that easy. It's all in the hands of the entrepreneurs to deliver. And I think we need more blockchain talk and less token. Let's not forget the tokens are married to the blockchain. It is the blockchain that is really the disruptive element here, and not just the token. The token is just an enabler to that. Thank you very much.
Excellent stuff. Thank you so much, William. Stay here for a second. Some solid content there. Stephen, are you backstage? Coming up, Stephen. Stephen's on the next panel. He's got a question for you. Put you on the spot here real quick.
So I'm looking for somebody to invest in Palicoin.
In what?
I'm kidding. So here, come on, I'm dying up here. Palicoin. Early investors, you're going to get a special offer. So here's my question, and I have my own view on this. Do you think the term utility token will be used in 2 years and then again in 5 years?
No.
Why not?
Because it is very vague. The way you define utility may not be the way I define it, and if it's not clear, then the regulators are not going to like it. I think, again, what I said earlier is they will focus more on the transparency. They will not care whether you call it a utility or a right or an ownership or a whatever you want to call it. It's really about being honest and telling everybody what you're doing up front.
Amazing stuff. More on that later during the tea break. One more time for William, please. All right, thank you.
Thank you.